Want to get in touch with your inner Cronkite? Grab your camera and become a CNN iReporter. Send stories and videos of what's happening around you to CNN.com/news to me. See yourself on the show, like these next guys. Would you believe this massive fireball was caused by a harmless little critter? The popular ski town of Steamboat Springs, Colorado was plunged into darkness after a small animal of some kind got caught in a power substation, sparking an explosion. iReporter Steve Vargas caught the unexpected light show on tape, and let's just say the little critter won't be hitting the slopes next year. These students at Clemson University are not camping out for tickets. They're trying to raise awareness for the plight of the homeless by sleeping in cardboard boxes. And it was all captured by communications major and iReporter Skip Wilson.
All throughout the night, the students had to put up not only with the weather, but also with the constant heckling from passersby that lasted into the morning.
The event was organized by the school's chapter of Habitat for Humanity, and about 70 people participated. Some tried to put the home back in homeless.
This shelter, dubbed the Hobo Hotel, was sectioned into 3 rooms and has roughly 6 students in it.
But even the Hobo Hotel gave these students a tiny taste of what it may be like to be homeless.
You were waking up a few times a night, really uncomfortable, kind of cold. It's not a good situation to be in at all.
See, Mom? They are learning something.
Toilet seats, fishing lures, milk jugs, water bottles, these things, what do they all have in common? They're all made of plastic. And the more of it we use, maybe the more of it we eat. Credit cards, protective cups, artificial limbs.
It's a part of the ocean that sees very few people because it's extremely remote, largely devoid of fish, and the winds here are weak, turning away sailors. It is a massive patch of ocean located northeast of Hawaii in the middle of the Pacific. It is spinning slowly, drawing in everything that gets in its path. It's the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a massive stew of unwanted waste. Some call it Trash Island. And the bad news for us is that it is growing.
We're nowhere near land, we're nowhere near any other ships, and it's just Flotsam City out here.
Thomas Morton is a journalist producing a documentary for a web-based network called VBS.TV. He wanted to get a first-hand account of the growing ecological catastrophe, so he headed out deep into the Pacific.
It's a fairly long journey, and it's a pretty small boat, too. It takes a week to get out there. It's one of the furthest points from human contact in the world. I think the second remotest point of open water on the planet.
Morton sailed on the research vessel El Guido, which is owned by Charles Moore, an avid sailor. In 1997, Moore was returning from Hawaii to California following a yacht race when he decided to take a relaxed shortcut through the quiet and remote gyre. He noticed he couldn't look into the ocean in any direction without seeing floating garbage. Moore has since dedicated his life to studying the phenomenon. Just to go ahead and let people know, this is a big amount of trash.
The area that's polluted is estimated at double size of Texas. It's a whole region of the ocean that's just totally infested with like little broken up bits of plastic. It's just like a confetti of chunks of garbage that takes up the better part of the open water. And then there's identifiable pieces of garbage like hockey sticks and Coke bottles and what have you that float by.
The problem with plastic is it doesn't biodegrade, it photodegrades, a process in which it is broken down by sunlight into smaller pieces, but they still remain plastics.
There's a ratio of plastic to plankton of about 6 to 1. That's roughly average. We pulled in samples that were like, where it was like 1,000 to 1, where it's overwhelmingly plastic. And when you go down into the water, like you can see, like it's like being in like a snow globe in certain sections, where you can see just like little chunks of like yellow and red floating around.
It's not a film on top of the ocean, is it below the surface?
It sort of floats like near the surface. The soupy mess, like you see once you're like underwater and have a mask on. I came up out of the water once and had like little chunks in my mouth.
But the problem may be affecting more than just those who snorkel in the gyre. Thomas, you said we are eating our own trash. Explain that.
Our crap ends up in the ocean. It breaks down. It gets eaten by jellyfish, smaller life forms, like who are filter feeders. Bigger fish eat those, bigger fish eat those, and eventually we start eating these creatures.
In your report, Thomas, did you ever speak to any doctors about what the impact could be health-wise?
Yes, when we got to Hawaii, we met with a Dr. Frederick vom Saal. Diseases he's linked it to are early onset diabetes, problems with the liver, kidneys. Every major public health crisis that's hit the U.S. in like the last 30 years, he's seen evidence of exposure to the chemicals in these plastics in mice. Probably the scariest ones are the effects they can have on the reproductive system. It's scary as hell.
There is actually a study in Japan where women with elevated levels of bisphenol A were the women who were repeatedly miscarrying, never able to have a successful pregnancy.
Research suggests that 80% of the trash in the ocean comes from land and river runoff, and the majority of that is just simply household and municipal waste. And the problem is growing at an alarming rate.
What do we do?
What do we do? There's no quick fix. Sitting in a plastic chair right now, this is our entire society, and in order to start addressing this problem, we've got to reconfigure our society so that we use less plastic and somehow dispose of our waste in a way that it doesn't get out into the ocean and that it doesn't last for years and years.
All right, Thomas, thank you for terrifying us and for being on News to Me. Up next on American Idol.
A mysterious set of objects floating in the sky. Earthquakes and Kahlua cakes. A new CNN website lets you decide what's news. We'll take a test drive. A bizarre accident involving a driving dog.
And all I can remember is just screaming, no!
And a whole lot more.